Chelsea are in need of a rebuild, or at least that's what Todd Boehly and co thought when they took over a few years ago. They flipped most of the squad, bringing in their unique transfer strategy, some of which was successful and some not so much. But it hasn't exactly led to success on the pitch. Plenty of managers have tried their hand and failed, and whilst results seem to be getting a little bit better, it's still pretty clear Chelsea are missing a few key pieces in their jigsaw in becoming title contenders, and today I'm going to step in as Chelsea manager and make sure that happens. But it's not exactly like we're starting with zero here at Chelsea. They're a club with a massive reputation that do fairly well in the Premier League and have amazing facilities. And despite a lack of them in recent years, trophies are a thing that this club has plenty of in the bank already. But Chelsea are a pretty unique rebuild because whilst they do need some signings, that's for sure, they have a very talented squad already. The case will just be trying to get them to gel together. There's young stars to build around like the supremely talented Cole Palmer, the excellent yet injury-prone Reece James, as well as the extremely talented Moises Caicedo, and that isn't even including the likes of Enzo Fernandez, João Felix, Nkunku, Levi Colwill, plenty of fantastic players at the club already, and there's some other ones coming in soon too, namely Brazilian wonderkid Estevão, touted to be one of the world's superstars, and also joining soon is mercurial talent Kendry Páez with a massive future. So it might seem like I just need to sit back and let this rebuild happen and it'll all work out perfectly, but it's been pretty well documented some of the issues at Chelsea. The first one is of course the squad size, even though the club has cut down on quite a lot of players. I mean, there's 31 listed here as first teamers, and that doesn't even include some of these guys that Football Manager considers just developing talents not ready for the first team yet. And whilst I am going to be very active in the transfer market, trying to stick with the way Chelsea are doing things in real life currently, that is certainly an issue that I need to work on, but there's probably an even bigger one than that, and that is of course the fact that Chelsea have a bundle of talent, but in a few key positions they are left short, like goalkeeper with Robert Sanchez, and up front Nicholas Jackson is the only real out-and-out striker, and he's doing well, but he needs some competition. So I feel like this rebuild is going to be a very interesting one, particularly in the transfer market, where I do think we need to improve the team, and the game agrees as well, because they predict us finishing in 6th place, which is of course a decent finish, but Chelsea want to be higher than that. 25-1 odds of winning the title. I'm not necessarily sure my team is going to be ready for a title push just yet, but I'm hoping to get there in the first 2, maybe 3 seasons at a push. But it's going to be pretty hard to make things happen when our budget has already been pretty much all spent on all the transfers Chelsea have made already. So if I'm going to make any signings into the club, first I'm going to have to get rid of some, and I'm telling you, I'm going to go for it in the market. And normally, in the first transfer window of a rebuild, I'll take a step back, maybe make one signing or two and leave it at that, but in this one, I've already got rid of a bunch of players and started to put my own stamp on this Chelsea team. Let's start with the outgoings, where some of the fringe members of the squad have been sent away, like Datro Fofana on loan to Rayo Vallecano. He might be good enough for Juve in real life, but in-game Renato Veiga needs a lot of work, so he goes to Zurich. Marc Guiu goes out on loan to the second tier of Spain, whilst Cesare Casadei looks for first-team football at Las Palmas, and Carney Chukwuemeka goes to Celta Vigo for some game time. So those fringe players were just a start. I've loaned them out with the hopes of developing them either to sell for a profit or to use in our first team down the line, but they weren't the only sales that I made, because a couple of academy players left for a profit. The first one was Alex Matos, who's gone to Fulham for 4.3 million, and Jimmy J Morgan also had a lot of interest, so he's gone to Brighton for 5 million, which can rise to 8. I also sold third choice goalkeeper Marcus Bettinelli to Hellas Verona just to get his wages off the books for 500,000. I've also loaned out Axel Disasi for a future permanent transfer to Atletico Madrid, which is costing them 16 million. I did something Chelsea couldn't do in real life and moved Ben Chilwell on. He had some interest from Al Ali in Saudi Arabia, who gave us £30 million for the Englishman. I've also made a pretty brave choice getting rid of Badiashile for the season. He goes to Girona on a loan, and he doesn't have the drugs ban in-game just yet, so Mykhailo Mudryk has gone out on loan to West Ham for the season to hopefully come back a better player. So you can already see there's a lot of outgoings already at the club, but I haven't even mentioned the biggest one yet, because I've decided to move on Christopher Nkunku. Obviously a very talented player, but didn't quite fit the system at Chelsea. There was plenty of interest from PSG and also Liverpool, and that's where he decides to go for pretty much the same fee that Chelsea bought him for, so we don't really lose out on anything. Now, of course, that does mean we are strengthening Liverpool for right now, but I'm hoping in the long run it will all work out okay. So as you can already tell, I'm trying to thin the squad out here at Chelsea, but what that does mean is we had funds to bring in some players to really help our first team. And the first player I've opted to go for is David Hansko, who is a 26-year-old Slovakian Jackson, left back slash centre back option, who I'm hoping will fit our team nicely. We've signed him for Feyenoord for a very cheap fee, considering the talent of only £18 million. I think he's a very good option in the defence, it covers a couple of areas. We've seen it a lot nowadays, these centre backs playing as full backs, and David Hanchko is one of the best available. But Chelsea's need for a striker has been heavily documented, so I've gone out my way to sign a competitor for Nicholas Jackson, probably one of the most informed strikers in the world right now. Viktor Gyökeres signs for Chelsea. The Swedish 26-year-old in-game only cost us 35 million. Obviously he would cost more in real life, but because in-game he hasn't yet had that amazing season that he had for Sporting Club de Portugal, he was available for a pretty good deal, and I think he comes in as a great option up front. You might also notice Robert Sanchez is still our number one. That is something that I'm still working on in future seasons, but as of right now I couldn't get rid of him, so it didn't make sense to bring in another keeper on top of all the ones that we already had. But as we head into our first season here at Chelsea, this is what is currently considered our best team. In goal, it's Robert Sanchez still, of course, with Reece James at right back, Wesley Fofana at centre back, who if he can stay fit will be a great partner for young Levi Colwill. At left back, we see David Hanchko already make it in to our best 11 alongside Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, and then a front three of João Felix, who is of course supremely talented, even if he hasn't settled at Chelsea that much yet in real life, alongside Cole Palmer, Jadon Sancho, who will be signing from Manchester United, and Viktor Gyökeres. Now, reading that team out, it is a good team, but clearly there's a lot of work still to be done, which we will do in future seasons. But for right now, the game is predicting us to finish in 6th place, 33-1 odds of winning the title. Now, obviously, that isn't going to be my aim in the first season, but I'm hoping this team will at least be good enough to qualify for Champions League football. But only time will tell if I can do what the other Chelsea managers so far couldn't. And our first year at Chelsea has been much like some of their seasons in real life, some bits of success, some stuff not so good, and overall just a bit of a mixed year. Our league form, to be honest with you, was very hit and miss. There was some great results like when we went up against Manchester United and Cole Palmer helped us to a 3-0 win, but then only a game later we go away to Brentford and we get battered 3-0 ourselves. And that was kind of the pattern of the season, and I learned a lot about the squad in our first year here, and there's still a lot of work to be done, but this season we did actually have the chance for the first piece of silverware under the new ownership in the Conference League. We made it all the way to the semi-final, where in a tough tie against Fenerbahce it was Viktor Gyökeres who got us the win, and that set up a fairly tough tie in the final against Ajax, where Gyökeres scored, and we continued to dominate the game into the second half, where Jackson again found Gyökeres for a goal. Ajax though were able to pull one back through Brian Brobby, but even that Sanchez error wasn't enough to get Ajax back in the game, and we managed to secure the Conference League, which is of course great, but I'm not really going to celebrate it too much. It is a competition that we should be winning. But what about the other competitions? Well, in the Cups we got knocked out pretty early, and then in the Premier League we finished in 5th place, which is not terrible mind you, but still I want to be doing better. 3 points away from the Champions League places, qualifying for the Europa League with 68 points, 20 wins and 10 losses alongside 8 draws too. Cole Palmer had the most assists in the league, which is great to see, and he was our best player this year alongside some of the other players that you would expect to do pretty well. Reece James, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez all as our top 4 players. Reece James managed to play 49 games this season, so he didn't really miss too much through injury. Viktor Gyökeres had a great year, scoring 25 goals. The issue was only 14 of them came in the Prem, which is a good return, but not enough to mount a title challenge, and hopefully next season he'll be a little bit better. But if you thought the first transfer window was busy, it's only going to get busier. As we head into our second year, a lot of the players already out on loan will be coming back. We've already got over £100 million to spend, and once we sell on some of those players that are surplus to requirements, we're going to have even more. So this is about to be the start of a new era at Chelsea Football Club. Right, prepare yourselves. This transfer window was a big one. Over £200 million spent, nearly £200 million in sales as well. A huge window here at Chelsea. Before you see it though, if you do enjoy this video, if you are enjoying up to this point, then smash the like button for me. I know you hear every YouTuber say it, but it really does help me here on the channel in terms of pushing this content out. So thank you to anybody who's able to do that. And if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do so on the road to 50k subs. It's a target we've been aiming for on the channel for a long time, and when I eventually reach it, I'll be absolutely buzzing. So if you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy all the other rebuilds we've got to come, so smash that subscribe button. But with that being said, let's go check out the sales first. A few outgoing loans. Leslie Ugochukwu goes to Strasbourg for the year, as does young centre-back Aran Anselmino. And then we've loaned out young Estevao to Leicester, now in the Championship. In real life, this guy will be a first-team regular at Chelsea as soon as he comes in, but in-game, as you can tell, they've given him a lot of potential, but not rated him very highly in terms of current ability. This is, of course, FM24. When FM25 is out, I'm sure he will look 10 times better than what we're seeing here, but for right now, he's only good enough for Leicester. Dewsbury Hall has gone out on loan with a permanent option potentially for Real Sociedad. Armando Broja has a similar situation at West Ham. David Washington has gone to Luton Town, who are now back in the Premier League, and he'll be playing as their main striker. Carney Chukwuemeka goes from Celta Vigo to Real Sociedad for the year. Gabriel Slonina is going to be Bournemouth's number one. Cesare Casadei goes to Sassuolo for the season. And then there's Mudryk, who did well at West Ham last year on loan, but now he goes to Dortmund to take the step up and see if he can handle that level. But now we can move on to the permanent sales, where the first one to leave was Datro Fofana, signing for Schalke in the Bundesliga for 7 million quid. Mark Guiu has been signed permanently by Newcastle for 10 million pounds. Not a bad fee for a player that in-game is not going to be good enough. Kepa Arrizabalaga goes to sign for Napoli, again around that 10 million pound mark. The most expensive goalkeeper in history had a decent year at Bournemouth and now gets a permanent move. Tosin Adarabioyo spent one season at the club and now he moves away permanently to sign for Al Ittihad, making a profit on that free transfer we initially made. Petrovic had a good year at Strasbourg on loan and has now been signed as a permanent goalkeeper by Al Nassr, who gave us 20 million pounds for his service. I did manage to get rid of Robert Sanchez, thankfully. He goes to Al Hilal, where he's earning 1.3 million pounds a week in a 20 million pound move. Axel Disasi has moved to Atletico permanently, and what I thought was a 16 million pound fee has apparently turned into a 32 million pound transfer, so I'm not quite sure how that's happened, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. But the biggest permanent signing was Raheem Sterling, who has left us after coming back from his loan at Arsenal, where he played a lot more than he did in real life, I'll tell you that much, and we have sold him on for 40 million quid. His stocks were a lot higher, granted, in this save, having played for one of the best teams in the league on a regular basis, but I didn't want him anymore, so I've let him go. Much like Estevao, the game doesn't rate Renato Viega very highly, so we've only got him alone to young boys. And the same for Kendry Paez, who has got potential, but he doesn't look good in game right now, and for that reason no one wanted him, so he's gone back out on loan to Ecuador. So as you can tell, a lot of sales, but that of course meant we had plenty of money for incomings and we spent it. Before I show you that though, if you enjoy this rebuild and you'd like to have a go at it yourself, or any of the other rebuilds we've done in the past, mind you can find all the save files over on my Patreon, linked in the description. Over there you'll also be able to watch the videos that you're seeing here a day early, ad-free, and you'll be able to vote for what rebuild you want to see next. Every rebuild we do will be based on those votes, and if there's one that you want to see, get it over, suggest it on there, we'll then put it in the polls, and hopefully your one will win, and then you'll see it on the channel. But yeah, a big thank you to any of the support, because of course, alongside doing all that, you will be supporting me as a creator, and it really goes a long way, particularly in this period now where, obviously I'm not whining or anything, but FM24 has been out for ages, and for that reason, views will eventually go down, and so does the revenue. So you guys supporting me over there really does help, particularly in keeping videos going on a regular basis here on the channel. So thank you guys for that. All you people that are over there already, a massive thank you. You're all legends. But let's check out who could be future legends at Chelsea that we've signed. Well, unlike Chelsea in recent seasons, I'm focusing more on quality over quantity. I think we've already got a good enough squad if we just have a few additions, so I don't feel the need to buy loads of squad depth players. The first one I've decided to bring in is Andreas Schjelderup, a 21-year-old Norwegian left winger who we bring in from Benfica, where he was unbelievable last season. 11 goals in 23 games, 5 assists and a 7.46 average match rating. He cost us £42 million on a release clause deal, and I expect he could go on to do big things. Our scouts are raving about him. He's probably the least known name that I've signed in this window, but still a very good addition to our left wing, and in my opinion, better than signing Garnacho for 60 mil. The main position I was aiming to improve though is one I think I've smashed out of the park. Goalkeeper was an area we had to improve, and I've got, I think, the best available one on the market. Diogo Costa, the Portuguese national goalie who was playing already for Porto for so many seasons and doing really well for them. He's cost us 45 million. It is a lot, but if Chelsea could do that in real life, pay it, pay it, pay it, pay it. We get a goalkeeper of the highest caliber, an international for one of the best nations in the world, a brilliant goalie with plenty of experience, and hopefully he'll stop any of the issues in goal, and we have got our number one for a number of years. But at Chelsea, I feel like there was a lack of quality at centre-back still. I know they've got plenty of players there, but I just wanted that Van Dijk level presence, that Ruben Diaz level presence, and our scouts think they found it in Ousmane Diomande. Yes, he's young at 21, and that is something that we are aiming to do here at Chelsea, to continue what they're doing in real life, signing young players, but we bought the Ivorian in, and whilst he is still pretty much a kid, this guy has amazing attributes. He is a physical beast, brilliant on the ball, and I really do think will be one of the Prem's best centre-backs if we can just get it ticking in this team. And that was the final signing of the window. As I mentioned, didn't go crazy in terms of quantity, but quality is certainly there. I've switched the tactic up a little bit as well as we head into the new season, just a few roles being moved around, and this is what is now considered our best 11. Diogo Costa is supposedly the best goalie, with Reece James, Badiashile, Diomande and Cucurella making up the defence. Badiashile at Girona last season did pretty well actually, and is now coming back as one of our best, but he'll have to compete with Levi Colwill, who developed a lot last season, playing a lot of football at centre-back. We've got Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo in the midfield, with the option of course of Romeo Lavia, who is developing very nicely in the team. We've then got Sancho, Palmer, Mudryk and Gyökeres. Of course, Mudryk not being here, it's likely going to be Jackson, João Felix, Shelderup. All of them can play that position. Plenty of options now for us, plenty of talent, and I think this squad is in a great place. And I wouldn't normally do this in a rebuild, but I'll just quickly run you through the depth that we've gotten out of the squad so you understand what I'm working with. In goal, it's Bergstrom, Jorgensen and Costa as our keepers. At right back, it's Reece James and Malo Gusto, with Trevor Chalobah able to play there at a real push. And then centre backs, you're seeing Diomande, Fofana, Badiashile and Colwill as our main four, with Chalobah and Hanko also able to play there if needed. Then at left back, Cucurella and Hanko really are competing for that spot. In the centre mids, we've got Fernandez and Caicedo as we know, Lavia, and then Andre Santos is coming back from his loan at Strasbourg to play in the team this season. Up top, it's Gyökeres and Jackson as our options. In the attacking mid spot, it's Felix and Cole Palmer. On the right side, we're seeing Jadon Sancho able to play there, but mainly it's going to be Neto and Madueke. And then on the left, it's Shelderup and of course Sancho competing for that spot. And the signings we've made have clearly been thought of highly by the game, because we're now predicted 5th place and 10-1 odds of winning the title, way better than what we had before. They obviously think we're improving the team, but I want to see our club getting better and better season upon season. So this year, for me, we have to make the top 4, and that's what I'm aiming for. And whilst I'd like to sit here and say we've won the league and the Champions League and the FA Cup and all of that stuff, it hasn't quite been that way. There's clearly work to do here at Chelsea, and I'm finding that out more and more as the seasons go on. This year, we were better, but still not quite good enough. Let's start with the Champions League though, where I thought we were going to be in the Europa League, but an extra place was allocated, and we made it to the knockout rounds, getting 1-0 up against PSG, and we took that result to the Parc des Princes, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough in what was eventually a 4-1 thrashing by the Parisians. So I wasn't expecting to be in the Champions League. It's great to have us in that competition already, but unfortunately it ended pretty early. The first knockout round we were beaten, but there was another cup competition where we had done okay, because we made it to a Carabao Cup final where we faced off against Spurs, who went 1-0 up through Dragusin. Enzo Fernandez though was able to equalise from a spot in the 34th minute, but unfortunately in what I believe to be a sackable mistake for a Chelsea manager, we ended up losing the final to Spurs. Cucurella with a poor defensive header into the striker, and they won it. So there was no silverware for us this season. That was the closest we got to winning a trophy here in England, losing to Spurs in a cup final. Like I say, it is unforgivable as a Chelsea manager. It's not exactly like we did enough in the league to make people forgive us, because again, we finished outside the top 4, 5th place, 63 points, less wins than last season. Really not good enough, to be honest with you. 10 points away from Newcastle in 4th. Currently, we're getting Europa League. Maybe some kind of place will get trickled down if one of the teams does well in Europe or whatever happened last year, I don't know. But right now, we're going to be playing European football. Our big issue, I feel, is the goal scorers. If you have a look, our best was Gyökeres with 13, which just isn't enough to be a title competing team. I mean, Brighton, Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle and City or with a better forward than us. Granted, goals were spread around the team a little bit, with Palmer also getting 18 and Felix getting 14 this season. There was also a few from shoulder up in his first year, Nicholas Jackson scoring 5. It just isn't really enough to get us over the line. Great to see our best performers though are the ones that we want to see in Reece and Cole Palmer, the players we're building around, as well as Diogo Costa, who had a great first year with us in the net. Romeo Lavia as well, also with a brilliant season. It's good. It's a little bit of progress on the pitch. The players themselves are developing, but we're just missing that something special. And I'm starting to feel like it might be in the striker position. I like Gyökeres, but is he scoring enough for what we're playing? I don't know. We've got £77 million to spend. It's not exactly enough for an elite striker, but I'm going to see what I can do in the market. There's other places that we need to improve to. Still plenty of players I want to get rid of as well. So the transfer windows continue. It's not going to get any smoother than this just yet. Season 3, we're going to have another busy one, I'm sure. Sometimes when I do these rebuilds, I really feel like we nail a certain transfer window, and that's when all of the good stuff starts working. And I feel like with the signings and sales we've made in this one, this could be one of those windows. Again, we'll start with the outgoings, where going out on loan first was Mykhailo Mudryk to Dortmund yet again. After a great year there last time, they wanted him for another one. David Washington goes back to Luton Town for the season. He spent last year there and did well enough in the Prem to help them stay up that they wanted him for another year. Carney Chukwuemeka is one of those out on loan that is actually getting better and better and could be part of the first team soon. At 22, he's now going to be playing regular football for Porto. Noni Madueke also leaves this year on loan. He's going to be playing at Borussia Dortmund. Having not played too much for us over the last few years as a starter, I think it makes sense, raise his value and then sell him on. Cassidy goes to Sassuolo for a consecutive year. They loved him last season and he's going to be there again. And then there's David Hanchko, who goes back to Feyenoord on loan for the season. He's been pretty good for us in his first year. Second year, didn't play as much, and with the incomings that I've got this year, I felt like it made sense. Loan him out to Feyenoord, get £5 million back of that initial fee we paid, and hopefully raise his value for a future sale. In terms of permanent exits, we kick off with Renato Viega, who, as mentioned, just isn't that great in FM, and for that reason, the best move we could get for him is a move to Almeria for 2.5 mil. No point loaning him out when he's never going to be good enough. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall did well enough at Sociedad on loan last season that Valencia wanted him on a permanent for 12 million. Philip Jorgensen has also left the club. He's going to be Dortmund's goalkeeper now, leaving for a fee of 13 mil. And then there's Travis Chalobah, who moves to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia for £18 million. He's been good for us, a great servant for Chelsea, but after coming back from Palace last year, wasn't playing all that much to consider staying. Then there's Paez, who has got better actually over the last few years, and he'll be going out on loan to Swansea for the season, and now we get into the 3 major sales. The first big sale we made was Benoit Badiashile, who goes to Real Madrid on a permanent. He went to Girona in year 1, came back to us in the second season, only started 9 games, so to get 49 million rising to 65 for the Frenchman, I think is good business. And then João Felix has also left on a permanent deal. The Portuguese 26-year-old now has gone to sign for Al Ittihad in Saudi Arabia, £53 million for a very good player, but for us, it just wasn't quite working. The performances weren't good enough. But the biggest sale, the one that I think is really going to change things, I've taken a risk in selling Victor Gyökeres. Now again, he goes to Liverpool. Yes, we're strengthening Liverpool, but I just felt like he wasn't the man for me anymore. He wasn't doing enough, I felt, in a Chelsea shirt. The average match ratings kind of back that up. So to get 50 million, making a profit on what we initially spent on him, I feel like it might be an okay deal, particularly when you see who he bought in. Firstly, I have changed the shape of our team and we're going to need an extra defensive midfielder, so I've bought in Joris Chotard from France. He's a 24-year-old French midfielder signing from Montpellier, where he's been exceptional in Ligue 1, signing for 32 million quid. Our new striker though, leading the line, is going to be the Spanish international Samu Omoroidian, 22 years of age, 5 goals in 13 Spain caps, considered an amazing player for this level. We've picked him up for a fee of 50 mil. Pretty much a straight swap from the money we made from Gyökeres, so fingers crossed he can live up to what Gyökeres was doing and then get even more goals. And considering there's a pretty big age gap as well, I think financially this one makes sense. We then had plenty of money to spare, so I've bought a couple of luxury signings really that I think just elevate our first team. The first one is Yeremy Pino. With Mudryk and Madueke no longer at the club, I thought, you know what, let's improve our wing options, and Pino is the man I've gone for. 75 million quid, rising to 85 from Villarreal, but this is in my opinion, one of, if not the best wingers available in La Liga, an excellent player, a Spanish international, 23 years of age, and an incredible talent who can play on either wing. With Cucurella's advancing years and Hanchko leaving, we needed a new left back, and I wanted someone who was going to do more than what Cucurella was offering for us, because in this save, he hasn't exactly been great. So I've went out and bought Nuno Mendes on the transfer list at PSG for 70 million. He hasn't played all that much there, but when he has played very, very well. The Portuguese 24-year-old is a fantastic talent with plenty of years left in the tank, and I'm hoping that transfer fee will still be good value for money. And here we have the best 11 for season 3 here at Chelsea, and actually there's a good mix of players we initially had and new signings, with Reece James being in a back line with Levi Colwill, of course, already at Chelsea, but Diomande Costa and Mendes are new additions. The midfield three are all here at Chelsea in real life, with Pino and Omaroidian next to Cole Palmer in the attack. As you can see, formation slightly changed here to give us a bit more defensive cover, but also allow our attacking players, our creative players, to just enjoy doing that and not have to worry about defending. We'll see how it goes. For our third season here, bear in mind last year we were 10-1 odds, we are now predicted 5th place again. 13-1 odds, not as good as what we had previously, but I feel like these signings that we've made actually make our team better. Only time will tell though if we've got it right. As I say earlier, these are big risks, but I feel like this could be the window that changes everything. Well, it's never dull at Chelsea, and this season was certainly an example of that. In the Champions League, we made it to the round of 16 this time round, where we faced off against Newcastle, and whilst we got off to a good start through Samu, Newcastle had a very good striker of their own in Alexander Isak, who scored 4 in a 4-2 victory for the Geordies. So Newcastle knocked us out of the Champions League. They also knocked us out of the FA Cup in one of the early rounds, so the only cup competition we had left was the Carabao Cup, and once again, we were in a final against Spurs. And it was a real chance for revenge for our Chelsea team to get one over on the club that stole the trophy from us last season, but in the boring game, it went to the 90th minute and Kulusevski scored and we lost again. So as a Chelsea fan, to be honest, I would want myself as manager to be sacked the way things were going so far for us, but there was one saving grace this season, and that was the Premier League. Because thanks to a massive upturn in form, we had managed to finish top of the table. 80 points, Chelsea win the Premier League finally for the first time since Antonio Conte's season, all the way back in the mid-2010s. 1 point ahead of Man City, it was a close run thing. Spurs only 4 points behind, Tottenham only 7 points away, but we managed to do it. 8 draws, 24 wins, and 6 losses. One of the big differences this year was certainly the goals from Samuel Omaroidian, who managed to score 22 in the Premier League. That was a massive result for us and completely changed the way that this season went. If we have a look, this year it wasn't just a Samu show, as good as he was. We had Cole Palmer doing very well too, being one of our best players and developing really well in this save. Reece James, Diogo Costa, and Enzo Fernandez also doing really well. His best season in a Chelsea shirt, being put in that forward position, allowed him to really flourish and show what he was capable of. The formation change definitely helped. Nicholas Jackson chipped in as well with 16 goals in one of his best years yet. Yeremy Pino chipped in his first season with 8 goals, and it was certainly our best season yet. We win our first piece of major silverware. I'm not going to class the Conference League, and in the meantime, we have been working on the facilities. For those wondering, the finances, they're not terrible. This is because the Premier League money hasn't came in yet. Next season, it will look a lot better, but we are heading into the transfer window with only 54 million this time. It's nothing crazy. We can't exactly do loads with that unless we sell some players first. And in Season 4's transfer window, I think we've been very sensible this time around actually, and I think this squad is in an even better place than it was last season. But before we see the transfers, this is the last time I'll ask you, if you haven't yet smashed the like button and you are still watching up to this point, I'd massively appreciate it if you could, but I won't ask again. Let's see the sales. Noni Madueke goes back to Borussia Dortmund for the season, where last year he was absolutely exceptional, and I'm hoping that will raise his value for a future sale. He just isn't starting for us because we've got so many players, so this makes sense. David Washington takes a step up from Luton to Freiburg in the Bundesliga. He's been doing well in the Premier League, to be honest. 27 goals in 2 seasons is not bad at all, and it looks like he's already thriving in Germany. Andre Santos has been loaned out to Palmeiras for the year. He's been doing okay for us, playing a bit part, but not really developing anymore, and I kind of wanted to free that space up for someone else. And then there's Mykhailo Mudryk, who's been doing so well at Borussia Dortmund. He now goes on loan to Roma, and if he can prove to me that he can have a good season in Italy as well, which it looks like he might, we might have to consider him for the first team, because I was kind of loaning him out in the hopes of selling him eventually, but he's just doing so well year after year that he might have to start next season. I then sold Broja on a permanent. He goes to Sheffield United for a fee of 12 million following a loan in the Championship with Leicester, where he really got his form back. Sancho I've decided to sell permanently too. He's a great player in real life. In game though, he's played a lot, just never really done all that much with the game time given, and he started a lot of games as well, so I've decided to sell him on 11 million quid to Roma. David Hanchko has also left. He's gone to sign for Napoli on a permanent deal for 29 million, add on the 5 million from the loan fee at Feyenoord last year, and as you can tell, we've made a big profit in what we initially paid for him. And then Cesare Casadei has moved on a permanent deal. After a few loans out of the club in Italy, Aston Villa have decided to take a punt on him, 17 million. Combine the loan fees we got from as well, and you're looking at about 20 million from a 12 million pound deal. Coming in though, I only made 2 signings, both of which are for the future, because I like the team right now. They've just won a Premier League, they need time to gel, but I've added a future great into the ranks. Franco Mastantuono, the Argentinian 19-year-old, signing from River Plate for 15 million, and then being loaned back out there for the year to continue his growth, where he is already too good for River Plate, but we'll let him play there for a bit longer, and next season he'll join us as a superstar. And then I've taken a punt on Arda Güler, who was transfer listed at Real Madrid, and I feel like if Chelsea saw this in real life, it's the kind of move they'd make, signing a young player for a fee that is supposedly less than you'd think he'd be worth in the hopes of developing him and selling him on down the line. So he does join us, he's now 22, the Turkish international, and I'm hoping he'll be a great addition alongside Cole Palmer in that right slot, number 10 slot, wherever you decide to use him. For those wondering as well, I think it's pretty much a write-off, to be honest, for Esteval in this FM world. No one wants him on loan, he's not good enough to play for us, and it's just a fault of Football Manager that he isn't rated high enough to actually get any game time. I would force him into the lineups, but we'd really be weakening ourselves because they've rated him so low really in terms of his current ability, so I don't think it's going to happen for him in this save. It could be a different situation for Kendry Paez though, had a good loan out at Swansea, and now I'm actually going to use him in the first team this year, so hopefully it works out for him. And just to show these loans I'm doing aren't absolutely fruitless, Carney Chukwuemeka is coming in to be a first team player this season for us. He'll be in and about the squad, he has been playing well every single time he's gone out on loan, but his best season was last year in a good team in Porto. Now he's coming into the starting 11, he's valued at nearly 50 million, and I think he'll be a great option to replace Andre Santos, who's left for the year. So nothing's really going to change in terms of the players coming into this best 11, because the guys we signed are definitely for the future, but from the ones that you can see here that we already had, you can see the lines that are developing between them, the connections they're starting to get. Cole and Diamonde is a great back line, James and Pino are working well together, the midfield three looks great. If you end up putting Romeo Lavia in there as well, there's an even better connection. Of course, Cole Palmer is going to get plenty of minutes, I'm sure, and Andrea Schelderup could be anyone, to be honest. It could be Pino, it could even be Nicholas Jackson on that side, who's been doing well for us. But this is our team, we are ready to go in season 4. The Chelsea rebuild so far has been mixed, but now with a Premier League under our belt, I'm hoping that means we can really get kick-started and hopefully win the Premier League now for the remainder of our years. This is our penultimate season, can we win some more trophies? And I've got to say, Season 4 was a bit of a weird one. Last season we won the Premier League and we were hoping to push on from there really and just become regular Premier League winners. But it's gone nothing like that. In fact, in the cup competitions, we didn't do well at all. The league, you'll see in a minute, it did not go as well as previous years, but the one saving grace this season was our performance in Europe. Because we made it our furthest yet in the Champions League, heading to the quarter-final where we were drawn against Real Madrid, and they came to Stamford Bridge first, and we didn't just beat them, we managed to beat them 4-0. Now we did lose 4-3 at the Bernabeu, but we were still fine, qualified for the semi-final, and it was another Spanish giant, facing off against Barcelona, who went 1-0 up through Osimhen. But at the new camp, Schelderup managed to equalise from the spot, and we grew into the game as it went on. Yeremy Pino, the Spaniard, showing the league what they were missing by dazzling past one and putting it in the corner. And then to seal the deal, we pounced on a defensive error, Nicholas Jackson, putting it past ter Stegen and getting the winner. We managed to beat them in the other leg too, and that meant we were heading to a final. The only issue was, it was against PSG, a very good club, and the final was being held in France. And it was a tricky battle, nothing really going for either team until Samuel Moroidian finished brilliantly in the late stages of the match, and that got us the victory in a Champions League final, delivering the 3rd Champions League trophy in Chelsea history. A brilliant match, a brilliant run to the final as well, knocking out all the big teams, and it was certainly a deserved win. The only issue was, in the Premier League, we finished in 5th place. Now, of course, winning the UCL, we qualified for it again, But, I mean, it's only 4 points less than we had last season, if I remember correctly, yet we were nowhere near the title. Liverpool finished 3 points ahead of us, Spurs on 82, Newcastle on 83, and City are back out of nowhere with 93 goals, and it might be because they've added this man to the ranks, put him alongside a goal-scoring Erling Haaland, and they had a great team, Nico Williams as well. City are stacking up. We're improving our side, but remember, all these teams are as well. Omaroidian, though, was brilliant for us this year, really showing us that we made the right decision in bringing him in and letting Gyökeres go. He scored 30 goals in the league, plus 32 goals in 34 games in a real season. But my favourite story of a lot, I think, out of all these great performances across the board, including 10 goals from shoulder up and 9 from Pino, is Carney Chukwuemeka, who has came into the team after a few years out on loan, scored 11 goals and been one of our best midfielders across all competitions. Exactly what we wanted from the loans out we were making. Even if some of them didn't work, we were just hoping we had the odd one like Chukwuemeka who could come in and really show the class that he had. It's been a great year all around. We are going into our final season now with a big budget of 110 million. Financially, things are looking pretty good, to be honest with you. No real debts out there, and the balance, again, that will go up once the Premier League money comes in before the start of next season. We've got a lot to spend. We're going to go for it in the market in our final year, try and bring in the right players, and hopefully we can deliver either another Premier League, maybe an FA Cup, a Champions League, whatever we can get. We're going to go for it, and we need the players to do that. And to be honest with you, I was really hoping for a quiet window this time around. I felt like we didn't really need to make too many changes, but circumstances changed that quite a lot. As always though, it's outgoings first. Lesia Ogochukwu was the first one to go. He's gone to Leicester, still our affiliate club in the Championship for the year. David Washington has decided he didn't like it out in Germany and he wants to go back to Luton Town, so he's spending another year with them. They got relegated and he's coming back to be a Luton legend and take them back to the Prem. Noni Madueke may as well be a Dortmund player at this point. It's his third season out on loan at the club. He's been doing really well for them, and if he does well enough this year, I think we're just going to go outright and try and sell him on a permanent. Marc Cucurella has also departed. I wasn't planning on doing this, but there was a good opportunity in the market, which meant we had a new... I won't spoil it just yet, but a new defender coming in. So for that reason, Marc Cucurella has left. He's gone to Atalanta on a £5 million loan fee, and they can buy him permanently should they want to. I also decided time was up for Andre Santos, a good player, but in this FM world, not good enough to play for Chelsea. In real life, I think he's exactly what they need, to be honest, with Lavia's injuries. But here it made sense to move him on, so he goes back to Brazil at 24 for 11 mil. Andreas Scholderup has also left on a permanent. He is swapping Chelsea for Spurs. We'll have to do a lot to win them fans over, leaving for 20 mil. Now, he's been playing a lot for us, but he hasn't exactly been playing well, and with the way that Mudrik's been doing out on loan, I figured, you know what? We're going to take the chance. We are putting Mudryk into the first team. We're selling Scholderup. It might prove to be a mistake, but as Chelsea are doing in real life, when things aren't working, they're trying to just cut their losses early, and I think this is one of those. Wesley Fofana has also departed. He entered the last year of his contract, age 27. Not many France appearances for him, to be honest with you, but he has been good for us over the years. Not exceptional, but his game time has dwindled as the years have gone on. Only 9 starts last year, so to get £32 million for him is not bad. He's been a good servant, didn't get injured very much, and he has been a good centre-back, but it's time to move on. But the one that was really taken out of our hands was my world-class goalkeeper, Diogo Costa, who he bought in and changed all the fortunes here at Chelsea, but unfortunately, he is now left. £105 million, though, was the reason why. Rising to 135 mil, I could not reject that for a goalkeeper. Crazy money for a 28-year-old. No idea what Barca are doing, probably putting themselves in financial jeopardy again, but you have to take that kind of deal. Coming in to replace him, though, is France's #1 goalie, only aged 23. It's Guillaume Restes, who has joined us from Lyon after joining them from Toulouse. 63 million quid. It is a lot, but it's still about half of what we got from Costa, so it makes sense. You get one of the world's best goalkeepers who's got years ahead of him. And with Fofana and Cucurella going, the reason that all happened is Jorel Hato was coming in. Ajax's world-class defender, who's only 22, has signed for us from the Netherlands club for only 67 million quid, where he has been exceptional. I say only 67 mil. It's a lot of money, but for this kind of player, I think it's a no-brainer. Years ahead of him, a brilliant option who can play left-back and centre-back, and he takes it to another level, I think. And as we head into our final year, here is our current best Chelsea 11. You can look at it, you can take it in. Plenty of great talents all across the team. The surprise is maybe Joris Chattard, who's just been doing so well that I can't drop him. The French midfielder is fantastic. You'll also see Chukwuemeka is still part of the squad. Mudryk is getting a go this year, of course, in the squad too. I decided to make it work because his loan at Roma also went really well. So you know what, Mikhailo, we're giving you a chance. We're forgetting about the drugs. He is in our team. Mastantuono as well joins us as an incredible talent. Exactly what I said. He would join us and be unbelievable. 3 goals and 3 Argentina caps. Basically the new Messi is here at Chelsea at this point. And then we've got some new academy players as well coming through, like Ken Carroll, an Australian left back. I don't know how he came through at the Chelsea academy, but he did, and our team is now ready to go for our final season. If we have a look, we are predicted by the board, they just want us to qualify for the Champions League, but our best prediction yet, 5-1 odds of winning the title. We are predicted 2nd place, only Man City predicted above us, and you can see why they would be with Vinicius and Erling Haaland both in their team. And whilst they might have them great players, we've got me as manager, so you know what? Maybe we can beat them again in Season 5. And this is exactly what you want to see when you do a 5-year rebuild with a club. Steady progress, and then in your last year, you want it all to come together. Now saying that, there'll be no Carabao Cup in our reign, with another London club in Arsenal beating us in the final. But fear not, because this year we also made the FA Cup final for the first time, and against Man United, we showed just how far we came. Mastantuono made it 1-0 in 3 minutes, before a Reece James corner on the 6-minute mark found the head of Hato, who managed to knock it into Nicholas Jackson to score. But we didn't stop there, we really were showing our quality on this day. Diamonde to Caicedo to Mastantuono into Jackson for free, and just to top it off, in the 78th minute, another corner comes in, Diamonde rises highest, that went in the back of the net, and we won the FA Cup final. Might have lost the Carabao Cup, but we did win the Super Cup, and in Europe, we once again made it into the late stages of the Champions League. Because after beating Spurs in the quarter-final and Real Madrid again in the semis, it was Barca in the final match, as we went for 2 back-to-back Champions League titles, and Jackson scored early on. And in the 34th minute mark, we managed to add a second, Chukwuemeka into Palmer, who scored the goal. Even sweeter that these goals were against our former goalkeeper, Diogo Costa, but Barca had other ideas than just lying down, as McAllister scored. But we didn't let that get under our skin, we carried on playing well, and the player that we had so much faith in Carney Chukwuemeka, was the one to score the winner for us. And the Champions League trophy was ours 2 years in a row, which is a great feat. I didn't expect to achieve anything like that in this rebuild. One would have been enough, but what was great to see in that game, you might have noticed, Nicholas Jackson scored, Cole Palmer scored, and Carney Chukwuemeka, all players currently at Chelsea in real life, which just shows you there is quality there already. But our quality shone through in the league as well, where we managed to win the title with 83 points. It's our best points total yet. Granted, City far off the pace of what they had in the previous season. This wouldn't have been enough in most years, but City didn't get enough. 81 points for them, 81 points for Arsenal, 79 for Newcastle, but we beat them all with only 5 losses all season, only 1 of which was at home, 8 draws as well. A very good year for us. Cole Palmer getting lots of assists, and Omar Oidian, the signing of a rebuild, scoring 28 goals and having a brilliant year yet again. Overall, there were plenty of great performers, and it's exactly what we wanted to happen in this final year. It all came together. Reece James with 4, Omar Oidian with 42, 20 from Palmer, 9 from Diamonde, 13 from Pino. Mudryk came back and scored 8 goals for us in a very good year for us. So you know what? This is exactly what we want to see. Everyone contributing. Even Kendry Paez, the young Ecuadorian, scored 3 for us and played in midfield a fair amount. Mastantuono with 4. He's got plenty of years ahead of him in his career. I would say this rebuild has been pretty much perfect, other than the losses to Tottenham in the finals and the fact that Estevao has never really became anything because of how low the game rates him. But look, we have smashed it. The best facilities, the best reputation, the capacity of the stadium we are working on as well to build an even bigger one. So if you continue this rebuild, you'll have that to look forward to. And financially, debts and loans pretty much clear. Barely anything in this balance that we need to worry about. There's £150 million to spend. So if you continue this rebuild over on Patreon, you'll have a lot of money to improve this team. But that's a Chelsea rebuild complete. A little bit of a change from how they're doing in real life. Trophies in the bag. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.